I'm taking you on the ultimate food tour in the Outer Banks. That means breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert, and we're starting right now. Just because the vibe at the Outer Banks is fun in the sun doesn't mean you can't enjoy amazing food on your fun days at the beach. There's no lack of options along Highway 158, but I'm here to whittle down that list a little to give you a few places to start. I've chosen a few different types of foods here, so there's sure to be something to please everyone in your party. Let's kick off the tour with my low-key favorite spot for breakfast in the Outer Banks. And that is Biscuits and Corn. Prefacing, that is actually not the name of this place. The last word in the name is actually magazines and videos that contain adult themes, if you know what I mean. But for our purposes here, we're gonna try not to upset YouTube's systems and keep this hard G, so Biscuits and Corn it is. As you're driving on the Outer Banks, you'll probably drive right past this place, maybe raise an eyebrow, and move on with your day. It basically looks like a gas station with a completely nondescript convenience store attached. When you enter this place, basically the same exact vibes, until you look a little bit closely. If you make a sharp turn to the right, you'll run into an entire row of their merch. And if you look closely, there's a rack with spank mags. But if you turn left, it's a deli with some of the most incredible biscuits you've ever seen. The food is ridiculously good and completely homemade. On our last visit, we tried just about everything on the breakfast menu. Starting with the plain biscuits, this is like a top 3 biscuit I've ever had in my entire lifetime. It's flaky and buttery, with a good balance of soft interior and slightly crunchy exterior textures. Breakfast sandwiches on this are also great. We tried bacon, egg, and cheese, as well as sausage, egg, and cheese, and the unfancy American cheese, yellow American, is just perfect against this biscuit. Their scrambled egg is also nice and soft. The cheddar biscuits are also really great, pretty much same idea with cheddar melted on top. And the sausage gravy for the biscuits is rich, velvety, spiced, and basically everything that you'd want in a sausage gravy with biscuit. And I like how they crumble the biscuit into that. Biscuits and Corn is located at 2112 South Croatian Highway in Nags Head, and don't let the name deter you, you have to go here. Next up is Duck Donuts. Now I'm not gonna spend a ton of time here because I basically already have a 3-video series about Duck Donuts and their menu offerings, and that includes the Duck Donuts that's actually in Duck in North Carolina. I encourage you not to visit this location. It's not that the food is bad, but there are tons of other locations on the Outer Banks and outside of the area. So open up the map app on your phone and go to one of those other locations instead. Don't spend an hour waiting for donuts. You have better things to do, like go to the beach. All of that said, Duck Donuts are actually pretty good. What it is basically a cake donut that's served warm with a variety of toppings. Anything from something fruity, chocolatey, peanut buttery, sprinkles, maple, even bacon. Even maple and bacon. This style donut seems to be a North Carolina staple, so while you're down there, definitely check it out. Just don't go to the location in Duck. And if you're enjoying this, hit the thumbs up so YouTube knows to share it with more people like you. The next place to check out is a place called Barrier Island Bagels. Bagels seem like a popular thing in the Outer Banks. On this last visit, we found a place called Barrier Island Bagels that actually has a bunch of things to highlight. First, they offer a ton of sandwich options. Things called the Hangover, Friends with Bennis, Fast Eddie, and the French Kiss give you lots to choose between. And when you couple all of those options with the entire variety of flavors of bagels that they make, the variety just skyrockets. There's another thing to note at this place. In addition to a dine-in space, they also have a bar. And at the bar, they have some special breakfast-themed cocktails that are actually designed for you to enjoy while you wait for your order. It's something to consider if you're looking to get a jump on the day drinking. What I tried on my latest visit was called the Delbert. Advertised on the board with egg, cheese, and every meat they had, I opted for that on a sriracha everything bagel. I met a little disappointment here because the young lady must not have heard me actually say sriracha everything, and I got it on just an everything bagel. And that's partially because when we went, the music was so damn loud. But another kind of disappointment here was that it said every meat on the sandwich and it was missing a lot of the lunch meats and scrapple. As a New Yorker, I totally approve. I also tried a bite of Noah's French toast bagel with cream cheese, and that was also quite good. Barrier Island Bagels is located at 4716 North Croatian Highway in Kitty Hawk. Alright, now here's bonus hack number 1. And it's at Barrier Island Bagels. They have day-olds on the table in the front for just a few bucks. Pick some of those up and some cream cheese and just toast them up wherever you're staying. That'll save you an easy $20 per day. And if you're finding this helpful, hit subscribe, especially if you like food. Next up is Stack 'em High Diner. A popular thing to do while you're on vacation is go to a diner for breakfast. There's something comforting about sitting down with family in a casual dining room over some eggs, right? Stack 'em High Diner has a few locations along the Outer Banks, and they're all family owned and they're very proud of it. Coming from really understanding the New York, New Jersey diner vibes, walking into this place, it's definitely not exactly the same, but it has lots of different homely vibes in a completely different way. The main difference is that all ordering is done at a counter, almost like a buffet or school lunch line. They have a menu board, but also on the buffet there's some miscellaneous items and some beverage options. They seem to specialize in pancakes, but also have other familiar things like omelets. I mean, you could even go crazy and do something like clam hash or even a ribeye steak. I was craving something like completely breakfast or brunchy on this occasion, so I opted for red flannel hash with 2 eggs, over easy, some grits, a biscuit, and for good measure, I added a side of country ham. We had to go for the southern theme here. If you're not familiar with red flannel hash, it has onions, potatoes, pastrami, corned beef, cheese, and seasoning. This totally fit the bill. Throw in there a couple eggs, which I totally broke upon transferring on top of my hash, some grits and the biscuit, and to me that's like a perfect breakfast. Country ham is actually like a really cured ham that's found in the South that gets really crisped up nicely when you fry it up on a flat top. It's almost like a ham steak with a little more funk. If you get a chance, definitely check it out. Alright, here it is. Here's bonus hack number 2. On the Outer Banks, you'll find your old faithfuls Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. There's also no shortage of independent coffee shops, one of which I'll get back to in just a second. But the other thing there is on the Outer Banks are really well-stocked supermarkets, all up and down the shore. What you could do is stop in there and grab a bottle of pre-made iced coffee and whatever your favorite mix-ins are, and I just saved you $50 if you're staying for the whole week. That hack is good and all, but sometimes when you're on vacation, you want a nicer than usual coffee. That's when you go someplace like Ashley's Espresso Parlor. But on this most recent visit, we got to explore even more of their coffee and food offerings. The people who run this place are super nice. The staff is always super friendly, and on this trip, I even got to meet the young man that was the owner, and I really quizzed him about what I should order this time. He recommended the Lebanese blonde iced latte, which is what I went with. It was a really great drink, lightly laced with pistachio and cinnamon. It was a perfect start to the day. And the other thing is, I finally got my sriracha everything bagel there, and it was glorious. The owner was telling me about these toasts that they make with bread from a bakery called Gutsy Grain, and he actually snuck a slice of the kimchi cheddar bread into our bag, totally free of charge, because he remembers the last video I made about Ashley's, and I didn't know about that at the time, but when we tried this, we really enjoyed it. Ashley's also makes this incredible thing called a cold brew shake, which is ridiculous, but let's move on to lunch, starting with a really fun place in Kitty Hawk, Spanky's. As you're driving down Highway 158, the logo here might catch your eyes. It has that definite like vacation cartoony vibe, kind of like Señor Frogs. Otherwise, this place is completely unassuming both outside and inside. They serve all your favorite food from hot dogs to burgers to barbecue, fish, hush puppies, funnel cake fries, and even alligator. There's something on the menu to satisfy just about anyone. On our most recent visit, I tried the drive-in burger, a half-pound burger topped with cheese and an onion ring, and also served with onion rings. This is totally my kind of burger, and it's nothing fancy, and when you look at the prices and the ambiance, you shouldn't expect anything fancy. The burger here was very nicely cooked, onion ring nice and crispy. I liked adding a little bit of barbecue sauce to give it that kind of rodeo cheeseburger vibe. During this visit, we were actually cashed out by the owner, who obviously takes a lot of pride in what they do there at Spanky's. He even told me about a food challenge that they have there, and I'm gonna actually recommend trying this only if you're a savage. For a goof, they created a 2-pound burger challenge, and they call it the Viking Burger, and it's on the menu. They've sold over 4,000 of these over the last 20 years. It's gotten to the point where they now tally up the winners per state, and they compete that way. So at the end of the season, they'll tally up per state how many people have completed the challenge, and then the state will be the winner as far as the Spanky's food challenge. This could be a fun event to do if you're with a bunch of people, especially if they're all into like big eating, and also if you're bored of the beach. But there's some times where you want to actually be overlooking the beach when you're having lunch. And for times like that, there's a place called Fish Heads Bar and Grill. Fish Heads is tucked away in South Nags Head. You need to take a few turns off Highway 158, headed toward the ocean to find it. Fish Heads is overlooking a pier that actually overlooks the Atlantic Ocean. It's the Outer Banks. And actually, the main attraction at Fish Heads is their bar. They have over 40 beers on tap, and they also offer cocktails, and they have margaritas on tap, so you know that's what I had to try. I love this because it definitely has that like party vibe served in a plastic cup. And I think actually at night this place gets pretty lively. Who doesn't want to party on a pier with with plastic cups filled with margs. Come on. The ambiance here is a little loud, and it's also visually distracting, starting with the fact that the beach that Fish Heads overlooks is absolutely beautiful, to the fact that there's this long pier where there's actually people fishing there, and then there's all the funny drink koozies that are adorning the ceiling. You're absolutely not going to be bored at Fish Heads. In fact, if you're like me, there's so much going on at Fish Heads that it'll probably distract you from actually figuring out what you want from the menu. The food menu has a wide variety of things. Sandwiches, burgers, hot dogs, seafood, shrimp, nachos. On our last visit, I tried the shrimp basket, and for a few extra bucks, I upgraded my fries to chili cheese fries. The shrimp were just as expected, good batter, good crunch, a perfect little bite in a chill place. The fries were totally insane, but totally my style. The chili on top had a good amount of spice, the cheese on top was American, and it just soaked right into those fries. A little slaw on the side, nicey nice. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that this was a totally heavy lunch, but sometimes you gotta do it, because sometimes you can load up for lunch, but not always. One thing I recommend at least one day at the Outer Banks is to load up on a big breakfast and just bring drinks to the beach. I mean, you can also do something like that and then do something crowd pleasing for lunch like pizza or snacks. And I know you're thinking, Jerry, you've come all the way to North Carolina from a state, New York, that arguably has the best pizza in the United States. You can't be serious. And to that I'll say, it actually is possible to get good New York style pizza outside of New York. On our last visit, completely on a whim, we decided to try a place called Southern Shores Pizza in Kitty Hawk. Nothing fancy, just some cheese pizza, some garlic knots, little salad. One thing I noticed while I was there is they actually use some of the same tomato products that I've seen here in New York and I've actually worked with, so that was promising. Upon tasting the pizza, I was actually surprised. Now, was it the greatest pizza of all time? Absolutely not. But I can't say it was any worse than any of the places that are in my area where I am, upstate New York, which is miles from New York City. But if you factor in that you're in a beautiful place right off the ocean and you're a stone's throw away from a place that makes pretty decent New York style pizza, it was pretty good. I know even though I explained that, you're probably still skeptical, and I'm gonna double down even more with the next controversial pick. There are supermarkets up and down Highway 158 that can totally help you out on the days that you don't want to leave the beach for lunch. Plan ahead, pick up some nice rolls, some cold cuts, maybe a little Duke's mayo. They have Hellman's too, but since we're in the South, this is Duke's country. Pick up some chips, make a little sandwich, and bring all of it to the beach. This way you don't have to interrupt your fun in the sun, leaving the beach, getting in the car, waiting for food, and you'll probably save a few bucks doing it this way too. Honestly though, when it comes to dinner, that's where I'd allocate a little extra budget. Don't worry too much about saving money, especially for my favorite place to eat at the Outer Banks. Awful Arthur's. This is always our first stop when we hit the Outer Banks. Awful Arthur's is a family-run restaurant in Kitty Hawk that has been operating for close to 40 years. There's always a wait, which doesn't help at all with my impatience, but takeout there is incredible, and they also have picnic tables adjacent to the restaurant, so you don't have to worry about all your crispy fried goodness getting soggy. Eating inside is also amazing. It has a unique charm that crosses an old school family restaurant with a pub setting. They have a fairly big drink bar there as well, in addition to a steamer bar where you can enjoy some shucked oysters or some steamed seafood. Drinks are great, and you can also enjoy a couple of their house brews in addition to mixed drinks. But for me, the biggest draw at Awful Arthur's is the food. The move here is the fried seafood platters, and the steamed combos are also really good, especially if you like to overdo it with the sauces and dippers like me. I also gotta mention the Bad Barracuda bites, which stick to the Awful verse theme. They're basically battered and fried chunks of tuna that are tossed in like a Cajun seasoning. So incredible. The Hush Puppies are amazing, so do not skip those. And if you're not into seafood, they have burgers, sandwiches, and even salads on the menu, so that's for all the picky eaters. They also have a beach shop right across the street, so you can stock up on their house beers there, or some hard seltzer, or your beach apparel. This place is a lot of fun. I'm sure you'll love it. Sometimes you want something a little bit more composed, fancy even. For times like that, I recommend Blue Point and Duck. Blue Point is located right on the waterfront in the middle of a strip of shops connected by a shoreside pier. Being a more fancy affair, Blue Point proudly features local farms and fishermen, and inside might feel a little too formal or elegant, but their back bar mixes in a little bit of that fancy experience with an alfresco setting right on the water. Prices here are a little on the higher side, but you're on vacation, splurge a little. I treated myself to a margarita, caliente y loca, hot and crazy, made with infused spicy tequila, house-made lemon lime syrup, lime juice. This was pretty good. Spicy. Cassie picked an appetizer of creamy burrata, summer tomatoes and marinated olives, focaccia bread, and a balsamic vinaigrette. This was a pretty good deal at $16. It was actually really nice to pick on while sipping that beverage. My main course was was a saute of jumbo lump crab and house smoked salmon with an herb onion spoon bread and an Old Bay butter sauce. It tasted pretty nice, kind of small portion for $36, but this experience is a little bit more about the flavors and techniques than it is about the portion size. We also hit the desserts really hard here. Noah never tried creme brulee until this meal, so we fixed that. And for good measure, we added the special of the night, which was a berry and rhubarb buckle, and it had some fresh ice cream on the side. Both excellent. Like I said, being in Duck, it's not a cheap place, but the outdoor vibes make you not worry at all when you're making a mess. And all jokes aside, everything here tasted really great. And I understand this place might be a little bit too fancy for you, so get ready for this next pick. Hey, you're on vacation. There's nothing wrong with wanting a little theater along with your cocktail and your meal. For that, hibachi is always a crowd pleaser. And for that, Fuji Steakhouse and Sushi totally fits the bill. Located in Kill Devil Hills, Fuji is that standard hibachi setup where there's multiple tables and they cook the food in front of you. While this isn't going to win any culinary innovation awards, the outstanding detail about this place is that the prices aren't elevated even though you're basically in a vacation setting. Another outstanding detail to me is the sushi menu. The house special rolls spill over from the special roll section into the traditional regular roll section, so make sure you look over that menu really carefully so you don't miss any gems. A big draw for me at Fuji is the fact that you can order tiki drinks and they are served in the right glassware. For me, there's nothing that says vacation more than fruity rum-based drinks. Definitely helps me to kick back and enjoy vacation. Of course, the reason you come to a place like Fuji Hibachi is to watch them set things on fire, throw shrimp tails at people, and give people a free round of watered down sake. For one night in the trip, an experience like what they're doing at Fuji Hibachi will totally hit the spot. Here's a bonus hack. Chances are, if you're seeing this, you're an adult. And that's good because you can totally make the call to have ice cream for dinner. If you do that, you're gonna wanna check out Kill Devil Custard in Kill Devil Hills. And if anyone balks because they don't want ice cream for dinner, this place serves decent food there as well. They have burgers, sandwiches, a thing called beach fries, which are a must try. But in my opinion, the specialty there is their homemade custard, which is made in a special machine. Even if you go with something crazy on the menu, like the Wicked Waffle Sundae, you'll probably still save a bunch of money because eating out in OBX can be expensive. That's what makes this a hack, but consider this a bonus place for a meal. A fun place to go if you want a little Outer Banks history is the Black Pelican in Kill Devil Hills. As the story goes, back in 1874, the building housing the Black Pelican was constructed as a United States life-saving station. As you enter this place, you'll also see a lot of Wright Brothers stuff, paraphernalia, newspaper references. This is because the Wright Brothers Museum is on the Outer Banks, which is because the Wright Brothers first took flight in Kitty Hawk back in 1903. The vibes at the Black Pelican are definitely family-oriented. The decor is very much sailing and ship-themed. There's various segments to the building, which kind of speaks to the fact that this place has been expanded upon multiple times. That's another nod to the history of this place. Another cool thing is Guy Fieri has been there, and they proudly display that, and that's a pretty monumental thing. Moving on to their offerings, there's even more history there. They serve a drink called Julio Punch, which is absolute vodka, Cruzan rum, blue curacao, and pineapple juice. It'll make you glow like Julio himself. And I find this funny because they have this really boring picture on the wall, and if you look really closely, it has a physical Photoshop with somebody's face in between all these other older figures. That's Julio. He's apparently someone who used to work there and really loved this beverage. The food here is pretty much what you'd expect at a vacation spot. Nothing terribly experimental, lots of seafood. This is the type of place where you expect the food to be passable, but that the ambiance kind of carries the experience. Definitely a fun spot if you have kids because you can get a commemorative frisbee with a pizza served on top of it. That about covers all the savory stuff for right now. Let's get some dessert. Kicking this off, let's talk about ice cream, including a little more about my favorite place, and that's Kill Devil Custard right on Highway 158 in Kill Devil Hills. They technically call what they sell custard, and there is a certain distinction between that and your standard soft serve, but it's really not important right now. It is frozen creamy goodness, regardless of what it is. I've done an entire video highlighting what they do at Kill Devil, including their burgers and beach fries, which you can't miss. But as far as dessert options, they have everything from cones to sundaes, and I highly recommend the Wicked Waffle Sundae, where warm waffles are just stacked with sundae toppings. But definitely don't sleep on the banana split if you like that kind of thing. And make sure you check out the specials board. On our last visit, I had a fried beignet sundae, which is like fried donuts topped with this really beautiful raspberry sauce. Very tasty. Also in Kill Devil Hills, just a little south of Kill Devil Custard, there's a small strip mall shop called Scoops. At Scoops Ice Cream, they have a wide selection of creative, homemade, hard ice cream in all different flavors, which you can get any way you want. Sundaes, waffle cones, which are made fresh, floats, shakes, you name it. I'm a big fan of their hot fudge fudge sundae, and I'm also partial to flavors that have Oreo cookies or peanut butter, or both. I've loved just about everything I've had at Scoops, so I really don't think it's possible to actually go wrong. Here's another ice cream spot which we actually found by mistake on our last visit to the Outer Banks, and it just so happens also to be in Kill Devil Hills, and that's Holy Cow Creamery. This place is located on the Virginia Dare Trail, kinda close to the coast, and is serving up some really creative flavors. It's kind of the thicker, denser ice cream that you'd probably associate with being a premium brand, and you can get your regularly sized stuff. You can get milkshakes. They have a thing called a donut panini, which takes the ice cream sandwich approach and lets you get a scoop of ice cream inside of a nice warm donut. Or you can do an ice cream flight, where for around $16, you get to pick 6 flavors, and that then gets served up in like a cupcake container. On this visit, we tried Peach Melba, Cookie Butter, the aptly blue Cookie Monster, which has some Chips Ahoy cookies, Oreos, and cookie dough. And we also tried a flavor called Holy Cow, which has Oreo, peanut butter, pretzel, and sea salt caramel. This was amazing, and there were actually a couple other flavors in there to round out the 6. And trust me, you cannot handle this on your own, but pull up a couple friends and enjoy. Every flavor we tried was insanely good. If you did your research and hit up one of those places I had in my top 5 dinner restaurants, you may not be up for a full-on dessert. Up and down the Outer Banks, they have 7-Eleven gas stations, and I would totally condone throwing down a couple bucks on a Slurpee. It's refreshing. Get ready for my next pick, High Cotton Barbecue. Hear me out on this. Right at the junction between Duck and Kitty Hawk, there's this highly unassuming restaurant called High Cotton Barbecue. They're serving up amazing barbecue, hush puppies, side dishes, and they also have different chess pies for you to try. When given the option of coconut, lemon, and chocolate, you know I had to do chocolate, and I could have gotten a single slice for around $4, but what fun is that? You're on vacation, spend a few extra bucks and get the whole freaking thing. If you're not familiar, chess pie is popular in the South. It consists of like a classic pie crust filled with a sticky custard kind of similar to pecan pie. The chocolate edition of this was really great, kind of like a brownie baked into a pie. And just thinking of that analogy, I really want to know what the coconut and the lemon actually end up being. Lots of places have options that essentially double as dessert, and there's plenty of places to indulge in something like this, but I highly recommend a strawberry margarita from 3 Tequilas on Highway 158. You won't be disappointed. The only thing we didn't cover in depth here was beverages, and if you'd like to see that, subscribe and let me know in the comments. Click into the OBX playlist on the screen right now for more in-depth videos about even more OBX restaurants.